3 days. She had 3 days to come up with $200,000 or the building, her father's legacy, the place where she had learned to walk, to paint, to breathe, would be bulldozed to make room for a parking lot. Maya crushed the paper in her hand. It wasn't fair. Her father had been a brilliant curator but a terrible businessman. He had taken out a predatory loan from Thorn Holdings to keep the gallery afloat during the recession, using the building as collateral. Now that he was gone, the sharks were circling. "Not today," Maya whispered, grabbing her coat. "You don't get to erase him. Not without a fight." She didn't have the money, but she had desperation, and she had the audacity of someone with nothing left to lose. She was going to see the CEO of Thorn Holdings. She was going to beg, bargain, or scream until he gave her an extension. The headquarters of Thorn Holdings was a glass needle piercing the grey sky. It screamed power, wealth, and indifference. Maya marched through the lobby, her boots squeaking on the polished marble. She looked out of place in her paint-splattered jeans and oversized trench coat, surrounded by men in three-piece suits who looked like they traded countries for fun. "I'm here to see Gabriel Thorn," Maya told the receptionist, slamming her hand on the desk. The receptionist, a woman whose makeup was sharper than a knife, didn't even blink. "Do you have an appointment?" "I have a foreclosure notice," Maya said, holding up the crumpled letter. "And I'm not leaving until I speak to the man who signed it." "Security," the receptionist whispered into her headset. 2 large guards started walking toward her. Maya felt the panic rise. This was it. She was going to be thrown out onto the pavement. "Wait." The voice was low, but it cut through the lobby noise like a whip crack. The guards froze. Maya turned around. Standing near the private elevator bank was a man. He was tall, devastatingly tall, wearing a black suit. That fit him so perfectly it looked like a second skin. He had hair the color of midnight and eyes that were a startling icy blue, cold, calculating, and currently fixed on her. Gabriel Thorn, the Wolf of Wall Street, the man who was trying to bulldoze her life. He walked toward her, his movements fluid and predatory. He stopped 2 feet away, invading her personal space. He smelled of sandalwood, rain, and terrifyingly expensive scotch. "You're the one making a scene in my lobby," Gabriel said. His voice was devoid of emotion. "Maya Lin, owner of the property on 4th and Main." Maya straightened her spine. She had to crane her neck to look him in the eye. "I'm not making a scene. I'm fighting for my property. Your company is stealing it. We are reclaiming collateral on a defaulted loan," Gabriel corrected calmly. "It's business, not theft." "It's my life," Maya shouted, ignoring the whispers of the people around them. "It's my father's life work. I just need more time. I have a buyer for the classic collection coming in next month. Just give me 30 days. Gabriel studied her. His gaze swept over her messy hair, her defiant eyes, her trembling hands. He didn't look annoyed. He looked intrigued, like he was solving a puzzle. 30 days, Gabriel repeated. "Come with me." He turned and walked back toward the private elevator. Maya blinked. "What? You want 30 days? Gabriel looked over his shoulder. "Convince me. In my office. Unless you prefer shouting in the lobby." Maya hesitated for a second, then ran to catch up with him. The elevator ride was silent and suffocating. Gabriel stood with his hands in his pockets, watching the numbers climb. Maya tried to smooth her coat, suddenly conscious of how shabby she looked, next to his perfection. The doors opened onto the penthouse floor. It wasn't an office. It was a fortress of glass and steel. Gabriel walked to his desk, a massive slab of obsidian, and sat down. He gestured to the chair opposite him. "Sit." Maya sat. "Mr. Thorn, look, I know 200,000 is nothing to you, but that gallery is the last piece of independent art history in the district. If you tear it down—" "I don't care about art, Miss Lin," Gabriel interrupted. He picked up a file from his desk and flipped it open. "And I don't care about your father's legacy. I care about leverage." He looked up. The intensity in his blue eyes made Maya's breath hitch. "I am in a difficult position," Gabriel said, leaning back. "My grandfather, Elias Thorn, founded this company. He is currently dying. In his will, he included an archaic clause. To inherit his controlling shares and remain CEO, I must be married by my 30th birthday. Maya frowned. "What does that have to do with me?" "My 30th birthday is in 4 days, Gabriel said flatly. "The same week you are set to be evicted." The silence stretched between them. Maya's brain tried to connect the dots, but the picture was too absurd. "You're joking," she whispered. "I never joke about contracts," Gabriel said. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city he owned. I had a fiancée, Isabella. She terminated our engagement yesterday when she found out the marriage would come with a strict prenup. She wanted my money, not me. Smart girl. But now I am left without a partner. He turned back to face her. I need a wife, Maya. A temporary one. Someone who is desperate enough to sign a contract without asking questions. Someone who needs something from me as much as I need something from them. He walked back to the desk and leaned over it, his face inches from hers. I will give you the deed to your gallery, Gabriel said softly. Free and clear. The debt is erased, plus $500,000 in a trust fund. Maya's mouth went dry. And in exchange, you marry me on Friday. You live in my house. You wear my ring. You attend galas on my arm. You play the role of the devoted wife for 1 year. After that we divorce and you go back to your paintbrushes. This is insane. Maya stood up, her legs shaking. You want to buy a wife? I'm not a prostitute, Mr. Thorne. It's a business transaction, Gabriel corrected, his voice hard. You sell art, don't you? This is no different. You are selling a service, your time, your image. My freedom. Your freedom is already gone, Gabriel said brutally. On October 15th, you will be homeless and your father's legacy will be rubble. I am offering you a lifeline. Is your pride worth more than your gallery? The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Maya looked at the eviction notice in her pocket. She thought of her father, dying in that gallery, making her promise to keep the lights on. She looked at Gabriel Thorne. He was handsome, yes, but he was cold, a statue carved from ice. Being married to him would be like living in a freezer. 1 year, she asked, her voice barely a whisper. 365 days. No physical intimacy required. Separate bedrooms. We exist as partners on paper and in public. In private, we are strangers. And the gallery? I get the deed immediately? The moment we say I do. Maya closed her eyes. It was a deal with the devil, but God wasn't answering her prayers. Okay, she opened her eyes. Hazel met blue. I'll do it. Gabriel didn't smile. He didn't look relieved. He just nodded, as if he had just bought a new copier. Good. He pressed a button on his intercom. Send in the lawyers. We have a contract to draft. The next 3 days were a blur of lawyers, confidentiality agreements and lies. Maya told her few friends she had reconnected with an old flame. She told the bank nothing. She simply signed paper after paper in Gabriel's sterile conference room. The contract was thick. Clause 14. The wife shall not speak to the press without approval. Clause 22. The wife shall reside at the Thorne estate. Clause 56. Any romantic entanglement with third parties is a breach of contract. And the most important one, handwritten by Gabriel himself at the bottom, Clause 99. This marriage is void of emotional attachment. Neither party shall expect nor demand affection. Sign here, Gabriel said, pointing to the line. Maya signed. Maya Lynn. Welcome to the family, Gabriel said, taking the pen back. He didn't shake her hand. He didn't welcome her. He checked his watch. The ceremony is at City Hall in an hour. My stylist is waiting in the guest suite to get you ready. You can't get tea. Married in paint-stained jeans. You really know how to charm a girl, Gabriel, Maya snapped, grabbing her bag. I'm not trying to charm you, Maya, he replied, already looking at his phone. I'm employing you. City Hall was efficient, clinical. Maya wore a simple white dress that Gabriel's stylist had chosen. It was silk, expensive, and fit her perfectly, but she felt like she was wearing a costume. Gabriel wore a grey suit. He looked devastatingly handsome, which only made Maya angrier. How could someone look like a prince and act like a calculator? Do you, Gabriel Elias Thorne, take this woman? I do, Gabriel said, his voice steady. Do you, Maya Lynn? Maya hesitated. She looked at Gabriel. For a second, just a split second, she saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Not coldness, panic, exhaustion. It was gone before she could identify it. I do, she whispered. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Gabriel turned to her. He didn't ask. He didn't hesitate. He leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. It was supposed to be a show for the judge and the witnesses. It was supposed to be fake. But when his lips touched hers, Maya felt a jolt of electricity that went straight to her toes. His mouth was warm, firm, and surprisingly soft. For 3 seconds, the world stopped spinning. Gabriel pulled back abruptly. He looked at her, his pupils dilated. He looked shaken. Then the mask slammed back down. "The car is waiting," he said gruffly, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand as if to erase the contact. "We have a dinner with the board of directors tonight. Don't be late." He walked away, leaving his new wife standing alone at the altar. Maya touched her lips. They were tingling. "Just a contract," she reminded herself, gripping the bouquet of white roses until the thorns dug into her palm. "It's just a contract." But as she watched Gabriel storm out of the room, she had a terrifying feeling that this was going to be the longest year of her life. The Thorn estate wasn't a home. It was a museum where happiness went to die. Maya stood in the foyer, her lone suitcase looking pathetic against the acres of black marble and white walls. The air was chilled, filtered, and smelled of absolutely nothing. No cooking, no candles, no life. "Your room is the guest suite in the East Wing," Gabriel said, walking past her without offering to help with her bag. "I sleep in the West Wing. The library and my home office are off limits. The staff has been instructed to give you whatever you need within reason." "Within reason," Maya echoed, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Gabriel, we need to talk about ground rules, real ones, not just clauses." He stopped at the foot of the grand staircase. He turned slowly, looking exhausted. "I thought the contract was clear, separate lives, shared public appearances." "You kissed me," Maya blurted out. The silence that followed was deafening. Gabriel's jaw tightened. "That was for the cameras," he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous low. "Do not mistake theater for reality, Maya. It won't happen again." "Good," she lied, her heart thumping against her ribs. "Because I don't want it to." "Then we have no problem." He turned and walked up the stairs, disappearing into the shadows of the West Wing. Maya was left alone with the butler, a kindly older man named Arthur, who looked at her with pity. "Welcome home, Mrs. Thorne," Arthur said softly. "Please, call me Maya. And Arthur, does he ever smile?" Arthur hesitated. "Not since he was a boy, madam. Not since the accident that took his parents." Maya looked up at the dark hallway where her new husband had vanished. "Great," she thought. "I just married Batman, but without the cool car." The first week was a study in loneliness. Maya spent her days at her gallery, frantically organizing the restoration work now that the foreclosure was lifted. At night, she returned to the mausoleum. She and Gabriel ate dinner at opposite ends of a table long enough to land a plane on. They spoke in monosyllables. "Pass the salt. How was your day?" "Productive." It was agonizing, but the real test came on Friday. "My grandfather is coming for dinner," Gabriel announced over his morning espresso. He didn't look up from his tablet. "Elias Thorne, he's the one who insisted on this marriage. He wants to meet you." Maya froze, her spoon hovering over her oatmeal. "Tonight? Gabriel, I have nothing to wear. My clothes are paint clothes. My stylist will be here at noon, and Maya..." He finally looked at her. His blue eyes were hard. "Elias is sharp. He built this empire by smelling weakness. If he senses this is fake, he will cut me out of the will, and by extension, he will destroy your gallery just to spite me. Do not mess this up." "I can act, Gabriel. I signed the contract." "Good, because he's bringing a guest." "Who?" "Isabella." Maya choked on her coffee. "Your ex-fiancée? The one who dumped you last week?" "She didn't dump me. We terminated a merger," Gabriel corrected coldly. "But Elias liked her. She's trying to claw her way back in. She'll be looking for cracks in our armor. Be ready." The dinner was set in the formal dining room. Crystal chandeliers, silver cutlery, and tension thick enough to cut with a steak knife. Elias Thorne sat at the head of the table. He was 80 years old, attached to an oxygen tank, but his eyes were as sharp as Gabriel's. He watched Maya like a hawk watching a field mouse. To his right sat Isabella. She was stunning in a way that made Maya feel invisible. Sleek black hair, red dress, diamonds that probably cost more than Maya's entire building. She hadn't stopped touching Gabriel's arm since they sat down. "So," Isabella purred, sipping her wine. "Maya, is it? Gabriel tells me you run a shop downtown." "It's an art gallery," Maya corrected, keeping her voice pleasant, despite the venom in Isabella's tone. "The Lynn Gallery. We specialize in mid-century modern, restoration and contemporary local artists." "How quaint," Isabella smiled, a gesture that didn't reach her eyes. "Gabriel has always had such eclectic tastes. I suppose a little bohemian fling is refreshing before he settles down for real business." Maya felt the heat rise in her cheeks. Humiliation. That was the game. Isabella was treating her like a temporary distraction. "Maya is my wife, Isabella," Gabriel said, cutting his steak with precise, violent strokes. "Not a fling, for now." "Darling," Isabella winked at him. Then she turned to Elias. "Elias, did you see the new acquisition for the corporate lobby? A Basquiat. I told Gabriel he simply had to buy it. It cost 12 million, but it's an investment." Elias grunted. "Art is a waste of money unless it hides assets. Is it authentic?" "Of course," Isabella laughed. "It has the certificate. I authenticated it myself. You know I took an art history elective in Paris." Maya looked up. "Which Basquiat?" Isabella rolled her eyes. "The Warrior piece from 1982. It was discovered in a private collection in Zurich." Maya frowned. Her competence, C, kicked in. She knew that piece. She had written her thesis on Basquiat's lost years. "The Zurich Warrior?" Maya asked quietly. "Yes," Isabella snapped. "Why? Do you have a poster of it in your little shop?" "No," Maya said, putting down her fork. She looked at Gabriel. "Gabriel, did you close the deal on that painting yet?" "The wire transfer goes through on Monday," Gabriel said, looking at her with a mix of annoyance and curiosity. "Why?" "Don't send the money," Maya said. The room went silent. Elias leaned forward, his oxygen machine hissing rhythmically. "Excuse me," Isabella scoffed. "And what would a shopkeeper know about high-end investment art?" "I know that Basquiat didn't use acrylic polymer in 1982 for his background layers," Maya said, her voice steady and authoritative. "He couldn't afford it. He used oil stick and spray paint. The Zurich Warrior surfaced 3 years ago. It tested positive for a specific polymer binding agent that wasn't manufactured until 1994, 6 years after Basquiat died." Isabella turned pale. That's ridiculous. The dealer is reputable." "The dealer is likely a shell company for a forgery ring operating out of Naples," Maya continued, not backing down. "If you buy that painting, Gabriel, you aren't buying an investment. You're buying a $12 million fake, and when the IRS audits your assets, you'll be holding a liability, not a masterpiece." She picked up her wineglass and took a sip, looking directly at Elias. "But I suppose an art history elective in Paris doesn't cover chemical analysis of pigments," she added softly. Silence. Absolute, stunned silence. Isabella looked like she had swallowed a lemon. She looked at Gabriel, waiting for him to shut Maya down. Gabriel was staring at Maya. For the first time since they met, he wasn't looking at her like a problem to be solved. He was looking at her like she was the most interesting thing in the room. A flicker of respect and something hotter burned in his blue eyes. "Is this true?" Elias asked, his voice raspy. "I can send the lab reports from the University of Washington to your office in the morning," Maya said. "I consulted on the initial authentication attempt. We rejected it." Gabriel pulled out his phone. He typed a quick message. "Deal cancelled," he murmured. Then he looked at Isabella. "You almost cost this company $12 million, Isabella." I didn't know," Isabella stammered. "Gabriel, surely you don't trust her over me." "She just saved me a fortune," Gabriel said coldly. "And she is my wife. You will show her respect, or you will leave my table." Isabella stood up, her face red with humiliation. She grabbed her purse. "I have a headache. Elias, lovely to see you." She stormed out, her heels clicking angrily on the marble. Maya let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She looked at Elias, terrified he would be angry at the scene. Elias stared at her for a long moment. Then a dry, wheezing sound erupted from his chest. He was laughing. "She's got teeth, Gabriel," the old man cackled. "I like her. She's not just a pretty face. She's smart. Keep this one." Gabriel looked at Maya. His expression was unreadable, but the tension in his shoulders had dropped. "I intend to," Gabriel said. Later that night, Maya was in the library trying to reach a book on the top shelf. The adrenaline from dinner had faded, leaving her exhausted. "Here." A hand reached over her shoulder and grabbed the book effortlessly. Maya spun around. Gabriel was standing there. He had shed his jacket and tie. His shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, revealing a glimpse of skin. He looked less like a CEO and more like a man. "You saved me tonight," he said quietly, handing her the book. "Elias was testing us. If Isabella had dominated the conversation, he would have seen me as weak for marrying a woman who couldn't hold her own. I didn't do it for you," Maya said, clutching the book to her chest. "I did it because I hate bad art, and I hate bullies." "Isabella is a bully," Gabriel agreed. He took a step closer. The sandalwood scent enveloped her. Clause 99 says no emotional attachment. It doesn't say I can't admire your intelligence. Clause 99 is stupid, Maya whispered, bold from the wine at dinner. Gabriel's eyes darkened. He looked at her mouth. For a second, Maya thought he was going to kiss her again. The air between them crackled with electricity. Perhaps, he murmured, but it keeps us safe. Safe from what? From getting hurt, he said. His voice was rough. Good night, Maya. He turned and walked away, leaving her standing in the dim light of the library, her heart racing. He was retreating again, putting up the walls. But Maya had seen the crack. She had seen the man behind the contract. And for the first time, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she could break through. But she didn't know that the real test was coming. The contract required them to live together, but it hadn't specified sleeping arrangements when guests were over. And Elias Thorne had just decided to stay for the weekend. Maya walked up the stairs to her guest room, only to find Arthur the butler waiting for her with a nervous expression. "Madam," Arthur said, "Mr. Elias has decided to stay in the East Wing guest suite. His nurses need the adjoining rooms." "Okay," Maya said slowly. "So where do I sleep?" Arthur coughed politely. "Mr. Gabriel ordered your things moved to the master suite, in the West Wing." Maya's eyes went wide. "There is only one bed in the master suite, Arthur." "Yes, madam. It is a very large bed." Maya looked down the hall toward Gabriel's room. The door was slightly ajar. She was going to be sleeping in the same bed as the man who refused to let himself feel. The man who had almost kissed her twice. It was just a contract. Until tonight. The master suite was less a bedroom and more a command center for a man who didn't plan on sleeping. It was vast, decorated in shades of charcoal and slate gray. One wall was entirely glass, overlooking the city skyline, which glowed like a circuit board in the night. The bed, a California king that looked big enough to sleep a family of 4, sat in the center of the room, like an altar to solitude. Maya stood by the door, clutching her pajama bag. She felt like an intruder in a lion's den. Gabriel was already there. He was standing by the window, staring out at the rain. He had changed into flannel pajama bottoms and a grey t-shirt. It was jarring to see him without the armor of a suit. He looked younger, stronger, and much more dangerous. "You can take the left side," Gabriel said without turning around. "I sleep on the right. I've instructed the staff to bring extra pillows. We can build a barrier." "A barrier," Maya repeated, trying to keep her voice light. "Like the Berlin Wall? Or the Great Wall of China?" Gabriel turned. He wasn't smiling. "Like a contractual boundary, Maya. Clause 99. He walked over to the bed and began arranging the pillows down the center with military precision. He didn't look at her. He seemed to be focusing on the pillows to avoid looking at the fact that his employee was standing in his bedroom in a silk camisole. "Gabriel," Maya said softly, stepping closer. "It's just sleep. We're adults. We don't need a pillow fort." "I do," he muttered. He finished the wall and climbed into his side, turning his back to her immediately. "Lights out in 2 minutes." Maya sighed. She went to the bathroom, changed, and brushed her teeth. When she came out, the room was dark, save for the ambient light of the city. She climbed into the left side of the bed. The sheets were cold silk, the mattress was firm, and on the other side of the pillow wall, she could hear the steady, controlled breathing of her husband. "Good night." "Gabriel," she whispered. "Good night." The silence stretched. Maya stared at the ceiling shadows. She thought about the gallery, about her father, about the strange, infuriating man lying 3 feet away. "Why do you hate art?" she asked into the darkness. She expected silence, or a rebuke. "I don't hate it," Gabriel's voice came back, low and rumble deep. "I hate what it represents. Chaos, emotion, unpredictability. My parents were artists, musicians. They lived for passion. And passion makes you reckless." They were arguing about a song when they drove off that bridge. They were so consumed by their feelings they forgot to watch the road. Maya's heart squeezed. Arthur had mentioned an accident. "I prefer architecture," Gabriel continued, his voice fading. "Structure, math, concrete, things that don't change just because you feel something." "Buildings crumble too, Gabriel," Maya whispered, "if you don't take care of them." He didn't answer. His breathing leveled out. He was, "Can I sleep?" Maya lay awake for a long time, thinking about a little boy waiting for parents who never came home because they were too busy feeling. She finally understood the coldness. It wasn't lack of heart. It was armor. The scream tore through the room at 3 a.m. It wasn't a scream of pain, but of pure, unadulterated terror. Maya woke up with a gasp, sitting bolt upright. Gabriel? The pillow wall was demolished. Gabriel was thrashing on the bed, tangled in the sheets. His skin was slick with sweat, his face contorted in a mask of agony. "No," he shouted, his voice cracking. "Turn the wheel. Dad, turn the wheel." He was reliving it. The accident. "Gabriel, wake up." Maya scrambled over the mess of pillows. She reached out to touch his shoulder, but he flinched violently, grabbing her wrist in a grip that bruised. "Don't leave me," he sobbed, his eyes squeezed shut. "Please, don't go." He wasn't the CEO of Thorn Holdings. He was a 10-year-old boy in the back seat of a car, watching his world end. Maya didn't pull away, she didn't run. Her instincts, the same ones that made her rescue damaged paintings, kicked in. She needed to stabilize the subject. "I'm here," she cooed, using her free hand to stroke his sweat-dampened hair. "Gabriel, it's a dream. You're safe. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." "Dark," he whimpered. "It's so cold." "I know," Maya whispered. She lay down next to him. She wrapped her arms around his shaking chest, pulling him into her. "I've got you. Feel." That's me. That's warmth." She hummed a soft melody, an old lullaby her father used to sing. She pressed her cheek against his shoulder, anchoring him to the present. Slowly, the thrashing stopped. Gabriel's grip on her wrist loosened, then shifted. His hand found her waist. He pulled her closer, burying his face in the crook of her neck, inhaling sharply, as if she were oxygen and he was drowning. "Maya!" he groaned, half awake, his voice wrecked. "Shh!" She stroked his back. "Go back to sleep, Gabriel. The monsters are gone." He let out a long, shuddering breath. His body, usually rigid with tension, finally went limp against hers. He was heavy, warm, and solid. He didn't let go. Even in sleep, his arm stayed locked around her waist, holding her like she was the only thing keeping him from falling off the earth. And for the first time in her life, Maya fell asleep, feeling completely safe. Sunlight hit Maya's eyelids. Bright, grey Seattle morning light. She drifted toward consciousness, feeling incredibly warm and comfortable. Her head was resting on something hard but yielding. Her leg was tangled with another leg. A heavy arm was draped over her, pinning her in place. She opened her eyes. She was face to chest with Gabriel Thorn. They were tangled together like a knot. Her hand was resting on his chest, right over his heart, which was beating a slow, steady rhythm. His chin was resting on top of her head. The pillow wall was a distant memory. They were occupying the center of the bed as a single unit. Memory of the nightmare flooded back. Maya froze. She should move. She should carefully extract herself before he woke up and remembered Clause 99. He would be mortified. He would be angry. She tried to slide her leg out. Gabriel's arm tightened. "Don't." The single word vibrated through his chest against her ear. His voice was thick with sleep, rough and low. Maya looked up. Gabriel was awake. His blue eyes were open, looking down at her. But they weren't cold. They were heavy, hooded, and filled with a strange, confusing heat. "Gabriel," she whispered, The sun is up. Clause 99. "Screw the clause," he rasped. He didn't pull away. He shifted, pulling her even closer, until there wasn't a molecule of air between them. He nuzzled his face into her hair, taking a deep breath. "I haven't slept past 5 a.m. in 10 years, he murmured into her scalp. "I haven't slept without pills in 5. Maya's heart hammered. "You had a nightmare." "I know. Usually I wake up screaming and spend the rest of the night working. But last night, you were there." He pulled back slightly, just enough to look at her face. His hand came up, his thumb tracing the line of her jaw. His touch was reverent, hesitant. "You stayed," he said, as if it were a miracle. "Why?" "Because you asked me not to leave," Maya said softly. "You were scared, Gabriel. You're human. It's allowed." He stared at her lips. The air in the room grew heavy, charged with the same electricity from their wedding day, but deeper this time, more dangerous. "You are a complication, Maya Lin," he whispered. "I calculated everything. The money, the public image, the timeline. I didn't calculate this." "What is this?" He leaned in. "Peace." He closed his eyes and leaned his forehead against hers. They stayed like that for a long, silent minute, just breathing, existing in the gray area where the contract didn't exist. Then, the shrill ring of a cell phone shattered the moment. Gabriel flinched. The spell broke. The wall slammed back up instantly. He rolled away from her, sitting up on the edge of the bed. He ran a hand through his hair, his back muscles tense. He reached for the phone on the nightstand. "Thorne," he answered, his voice instantly shifting into CEO mode. Cold, sharp. Maya lay in the warm spot he had left, feeling the loss of his heat like a physical chill. "Yes, Elias. We're awake," Gabriel said into the phone. "Yes, we'll be down for breakfast. In 20 minutes. He hung up. He stood and walked to the bathroom without looking at her. "Get dressed," he said, his back to her. "My grandfather wants to discuss the quarterly projections. The performance continues." "Performance," Maya repeated, sitting up. "Is that all last night was? A performance?" Gabriel stopped at the bathroom door. He gripped the frame, his knuckles white. "Last night was a weakness," he said harshly. "It won't happen again. Build the wall higher next time, Maya." He slammed the bathroom door. Maya stared at the closed door. She wasn't angry. She was sad, because she knew he was lying. She had felt his heart beating against her hand. She knew that for a few hours the Tin Man had a heart, and she was going to fight for it. Breakfast was an ordeal. Elias was in high spirits, eating grapefruit and watching them with sly amusement. Gabriel was ignoring Maya completely, reading the Financial Times. Maya was stabbing her eggs Benedict. "So," Elias said, wiping his mouth. "I'm leaving for Zurich this afternoon. My doctors there have a new treatment plan." "Safe travels, grandfather," Gabriel said, not looking up. "But before I go," Elias continued, "I have a small gift for the happy couple." He slid a black envelope across the table. "What is this?" Gabriel asked, eyeing it suspiciously. "A honeymoon," Elias grinned. Gabriel and Maya froze. "We can't go on a honeymoon," Gabriel said immediately. "I have the merger with Kincaid Industries next week. I can't leave the city." "The merger is delayed," Elias said, waving a hand. "I spoke to Kincaid. He agrees. A man needs to bond with his new wife. Besides, the press is asking questions. They say the marriage looks too sudden, too clinical. We need photos of you two in love, on a beach, touching." "Where?" Maya asked, opening the envelope. "My private villa in Lake Como," Elias said. 2 weeks. Private jet leaves at noon. No staff. Just you two." 2 weeks. Gabriel stood up. "Grandfather, that is impossible. I have a company to run. And you have a grandfather who controls 51% of that company until he dies." Elias's voice turned hard. "Go to Italy, Gabriel. Woo your wife. Give the shareholders a love story, or I'll start reconsidering the succession plan." Gabriel clenched his jaw. He looked at Maya. 2 weeks, alone, in a romantic villa, after he had just promised to build the walls higher. "Fine," Gabriel spat. "We'll go." The jet ride was silent. The arrival in Como was breathtaking, but neither of them commented on the view. The Villa Serbelloni was a masterpiece of Italian architecture, perched on the edge of the lake, surrounded by cypress trees and gardens. It was the most romantic place on earth, and for Gabriel Thorne, it was a prison. He dropped his bags in the foyer. "I'm going to set up a command center in the study. I have secure Wi-Fi. I'll be working 18 hours a day. Enjoy the lake, Maya." "You're going to work?" Maya asked, standing in the middle of paradise. "Gabriel, Elias wants photos. He wants proof. We'll take a selfie at sunset." Gabriel dismissed her. That should satisfy him. He walked into the study and locked the door. Maya stood alone in the silence of the villa. The anger that had been simmering since the morning finally boiled over. "No," she said to the empty room. "Absolutely not." She marched to the study door. She tried the handle. Locked. "Gabriel," she pounded on the wood. "Open this door." "Go away, Maya. I'm on a college. I don't care. You promised me a partnership. You promised to save my gallery. If Elias pulls the plug because you're too emotionally stunted to take a vacation, I lose everything. Open the door." Silence. Then the lock clicked. Gabriel opened the door. He looked furious. "I am not emotionally stunted. I am protecting my legacy." "You're hiding," Maya shouted, pushing past him into the study. "You're hiding because you're terrified that if you stop working for 5 minutes, you might have to feel something again. You might have to remember that you're human. You don't know what you're talking about. I held you last night, Gabriel." Maya poked him in the chest. "I felt you shaking. I know exactly who you are. You're just a scared little boy waiting for the crash." Gabriel grabbed her wrist. His eyes were blazing. "Be careful, Maya. You are pushing buttons you don't understand." "Push them," she challenged, leaning in, her face inches from his. "Push back. Do something. Real for once in your miserable life." He stared at her mouth. The anger in his eyes shifted, morphed, darkened into something else entirely. Desire, frustration, need. "You want real?" he growled. "Yes." He slammed the door shut with his foot, locking them in. "Fine," he said, pulling her against him. "Let's be real." He kissed her. This wasn't the gentle kiss at the altar. It wasn't the accidental intimacy of the morning. This was an explosion. It was angry, desperate, and consuming. Maya gasped against his mouth, her hands flying up to grip his hair. He lifted her up, sitting her on the edge of the mahogany desk, knocking over a stack of files. He didn't care. "Clause 99, he murmured against her neck, biting lightly. "Void." "Void," she agreed, breathless. They were breaking every rule. They were destroying the contract. And as the sun set over Lake Como, turning the water to gold, Gabriel Thorne finally stopped working and started living. But they didn't know that back in Seattle, Elias Thorne wasn't just resting. He was meeting with his lawyers. "Is the new will ready?" Elias asked, coughing into a handkerchief. "Yes, sir," the lawyer said. "But are you sure? If Gabriel finds out you manipulated the loan on Maya Lin's gallery just to force them together—" "He won't find out," Elias rasped. "Not until I'm dead, or until she falls in love with him. Either way, the Thorne legacy is secure." He smiled a jagged smile. "Let them enjoy Italy. The storm is coming." The next morning, Lake Como didn't look like a prison. It looked like a painting Maya would have spent years trying to restore. Sunlight poured through the open balcony doors, carrying the scent of jasmine and espresso. Maya stirred, stretching her limbs. She expected to wake up alone. Gabriel usually vanished before dawn to check the Asian markets. But he was there. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing only linen pants, watching her. He had a sketchbook in his lap, a charcoal stick in his hand. "Don't move," he murmured, not looking up from the page. "The light is perfect on your shoulder." Maya blinked, pulling the sheet up slightly. "You draw?" "I used to, before I became a CEO. Before I became this." He gestured vaguely at himself, at the suit jacket hanging on the chair, at the burden of his name. He closed the sketchbook and set it aside. He turned to her. His eyes were clear. The icy blue thawed into something warmer, deeper. "Good morning, Mrs. Thorne." "Good morning," Maya whispered. The memories of the previous evening, the desk, the kiss, the desperate unraveling of control, came flooding back. She felt a blush rise from her chest to her cheeks. Gabriel reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Don't hide. You were magnificent." "I was loud," Maya groaned, covering her face. Gabriel laughed. It was a rusty sound, like an engine that hadn't been turned over in years, but it was genuine. He pulled her hands away from her face. "We have a problem, Maya." "What?" "I don't want to work today. I don't want to check the markets. I don't want to call Elias." He looked at the open balcony doors. "I want to take a boat. I want to eat gelato until I'm sick. I want to show you the gardens at Villa Melzi." Maya stared at him. "Who are you and what have you done with the robot I married?" "The robot is recharging." Gabriel stood up, offering her his hand. "Come on, let's go be real people for a day." The day was a montage of perfection. It was the kind of day that usually only exists in movies, the kind Maya had always cynically rolled her eyes at. They took a classic wooden reever boat out onto the lake. Gabriel drove, the wind whipping his dark hair, his sunglasses reflecting the water. He looked carefree, young. They docked at Bellagio and walked the cobbled streets holding hands. Not for the cameras, there were no paparazzi here, but because Gabriel refused to let go. His thumb rubbed circles on the back of her hand, a constant grounding rhythm. They ate lunch at a small trattoria tucked away in an alley. Gabriel spoke fluent Italian with the waiter, ordering wine and truffles. "You speak Italian," Maya noted, impressed. "And French, and Mandarin. Boarding schools," he shrugged. But then his expression softened. "But I learned Italian from my mother. She loved opera." "Tell me about her," Maya asked, and he did. For the first time in 20 years, Gabriel Thorne spoke about the past without flinching. He told her about his parents, about the music, about the crushing silence of the house after they died, and how Elias had molded him into a weapon of finance to replace the son he lost. "I built walls," Gabriel admitted, twirling his wine glass. "Thick ones. I thought if I didn't care about anything, I couldn't lose anything. I treated people like assets, liabilities." "And now?" Maya asked, holding her breath. Gabriel looked at her across the table. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over her face. "Now," he whispered, I think I'm in trouble, because I'm starting to care, and that terrifies me. Maya reached across the table and took his hand. Fear means you're alive, Gabriel. It's okay to be scared, as long as you don't run. I'm not running, he promised. He pulled out his phone. Elias wants proof. Let's give him proof. He held the phone up. They leaned in together. Maya smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. Gabriel didn't just smile. He looked at Maya in the screen, his expression soft, adoring, unguarded. Click. It was the perfect photo. It was the photo of a man deeply in love with his wife. Sent, Gabriel said, putting the phone away. Now let's go home. I have other plans for that desk in the study. The bubble didn't burst immediately. It lasted through the boat ride back under the stars. It lasted through the slow, languid walk up the villa steps. I need to grab a bottle of champagne from the cellar, Gabriel said, kissing her forehead in the foyer. Go to the study. I'll meet you there. Don't be long, Maya teased. She walked into the study. It felt different now, less like a prison, more like the scene of a crime she wanted to commit again. She walked to the desk. The files they had knocked over the previous evening were still scattered on the floor. Gabriel hadn't cleaned them up. He really hadn't worked. Maya smiled, kneeling down to gather the papers. Messy, Mr. Thorne. Very unprofessional. She stacked the documents. Merger, reports, quarterly earnings, asset liquidation. Then she saw it. A thick manila folder that had slid under the heavy leather chair. It was marked Confidential. Lynn Acquisition. Maya froze. Lynn. That was her name. Her gallery. She reached for the folder. Her hands were shaking. She shouldn't look. She should respect his privacy. But the name... Why was there a specific folder for her gallery? She opened it. The first page was an email printout, dated 6 months ago, long before the foreclosure. Notice, long before she stormed into his office. From Elias Thorne to Gabriel Thorne. Subject, the leverage. Gabriel. The Lynn property on 4th and Main is essential for the downtown expansion. The owner, the daughter, is stubborn. She won't sell. I've instructed the bank to accelerate the loan interest. We will force a default. Once she is desperate, she will be pliable. This is the leverage we need. Maya stopped breathing. Accelerate the loan. Force a default. They hadn't just capitalized on her. Bad luck. They had created it. Elias had engineered her father's debt crisis to steal the building. She flipped the page. Another email, dated 1 week before the wedding. From Elias Thorne to Gabriel Thorne. Subject, the wife problem. The board is nervous about your bachelor status. We need a solution before your birthday. The Lynn girl is desperate now. The eviction notice goes out Tuesday. Offer her a deal. She saves the building, you get the CEO chair. It's a clean transaction. Use the debt I created to bind her. Maya felt like she had been punched in the gut. Use the debt I created. Gabriel knew. The email was sent to him. He had received it. He hadn't saved her. He was the arsonist who set her house on fire just so he could play the hero and put it out. The chance meeting in the lobby, fake. The offer to save the gallery, a calculation. The kindness, the vulnerability, the kiss on the boat. Tactics, she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. It was all just tactics. Maya, I found the 98 vintage. Gabriel walked into the study, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. He was smiling. He looked happy. Then he saw her. He saw the folder open in her hands. He saw the look on her face, a look of absolute, shattering betrayal. He stopped. The smile vanished. The color drained from his face. Maya, he said, setting the glasses down on a side table. His voice was careful. What are you reading? The script, she said, standing up. She held the email out to him. Her hand wasn't shaking anymore. It was steady with rage. This entire time I thought I was fighting bad luck. I thought I was fighting the economy, but I was fighting you. Gabriel looked at the paper. He recognized it instantly. He closed his eyes for a second, cursing silently. Maya, listen to me. He stepped forward, hands raised. That email, I saw it. Yes, but I didn't orchestrate it. That was Elias. He manipulates everything. I didn't reply to it. You didn't stop it, she screamed. You knew. When I walked into your office crying, begging for my father's legacy, you knew that your company was the reason I was losing it. And you used it. You used my pain to get your inheritance. I used the situation to save us both, Gabriel argued, his voice rising. I gave you the deed, Maya. I gave you the money. I fixed Elias's mess. You bought me. She threw the folder at him. Papers flew everywhere, fluttering down like dead leaves. You bought a wife with the money you stole. From her family. Do you have any idea how sick that is? It started as business, Gabriel shouted back, desperate now. He tried to grab her arms, but she recoiled as if he were acid. Yes, in the beginning, it was just a contract. I didn't know you. I didn't care. I just needed to secure the company. And now, she hissed, now that you've recharged, now that you've had your fun in Italy, am I still just an asset, Gabriel? Or am I a liability now that I know the truth? You are my wife. I'm a clause in a contract. Maya backed away toward the door. Clause 99. No emotion. You were right, Gabriel. We should have stuck to the rules. Because the moment I let myself feel something for you, you destroyed me. Maya, please, stop. Gabriel's voice broke. He looked shattered. What happened yesterday? Today. That was real. I fell in love with you. I swear to you, I didn't plan that. Love? Maya laughed, a harsh, broken sound. You don't know what love is. You think love is possession. You think because you paid for the gallery you own me, but you don't. She reached for her left hand. She twisted the diamond ring, the massive, perfect, heavy ring he had put on her finger. She pulled it off. I'm done, she said. She placed the ring on the desk right on top of the damning email. Maya, don't do this, Gabriel pleaded. He looked terrified. For the first time in his life, the man who controlled everything had absolutely no control. We can fix this. I'll fire Elias. I'll restructure the company. Just stay. I can't stay with a man I can't trust, she whispered. I'm going home, Gabriel. To my gallery. The one my father built. Not the one you bought. The jet. I'll have the pilot. No, she cut him off. I'll take a commercial flight. I'll use my own money. I don't want anything from you ever again. She turned and walked out of the study. Gabriel stood there, frozen. He looked at the ring on the desk. He looked at the scattered papers. He wanted to run after her. He wanted to beg, but the voice of his grandfather echoed in his head. Passion makes you reckless. Passion leads to crashes. He didn't move. He let her go. And as the front door of the Villa Serbelloni clicked shut, Gabriel Thorne realized that he had secured his company, pleased his shareholders, and defeated his enemies. But he had lost the only thing that had ever made him feel alive. The flight back to Seattle was a blur of turbulence and tears. Maya sat in coach, sandwiched between a crying baby and a man eating tuna salad. She stared out the window at the endless grey clouds. She was exhausted. She felt hollowed out. When she landed, it was raining. Of course it was raining. She took a taxi straight to the gallery. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. It smelled of dust and old paint. It smelled like home, but it felt different. It felt tainted. She walked to the office in the back. The deed to the building was framed on the wall. A gift from Gabriel on their wedding day. Maya took it down. She looked at it. Paid in full. It wasn't a gift. It was blood money. Her phone rang. It was Arthur, the butler. Mrs. Thorne? Arthur's voice sounded worried. Mr. Gabriel, he hasn't returned. The pilot said you flew commercial. Is everything all right? I'm not Mrs. Thorne anymore, Arthur, Maya said quietly. I'm just Maya. But the gala, Arthur stammered. The annual shareholders' gala is tomorrow night. Mr. Elias is expecting you both. The press is expecting you both. The gala, the final performance. The contract required her to attend public events. If she didn't show up, she was in breach. Gabriel could sue her. He could take the gallery back. Maya hesitated. She should let him rot. She should let Elias see that his plan failed. But then she remembered Gabriel's face in the study, the terror in his eyes when she left. I'm starting to care. And that terrifies me. He was a victim of Elias too. A rich, powerful victim, but a victim nonetheless. Arthur, Maya said, her voice hardening into steel, tell the stylist to send the dress to the gallery. I'll be there. You will? Yes. But tell Gabriel not to pick me up. I'll meet him at the venue. Very good, madam. Maya hung up. She looked around her gallery. She was going to the gala, not to play the devoted wife, not to save Gabriel's reputation. She was going to the gala to finish this. She was going to look Elias Thorne in the eye and show him that he couldn't buy her dignity. And then she was going to break the contract in front of the entire world. The Thorne Annual Shareholders Gala was held at the Seattle Symphony Hall. It was an event designed to intimidate. Black tie, armed security, enough diamonds to pay off the national debt of a small country. Gabriel Thorne stood near the bar, nursing a glass of scotch he hadn't touched. He looked like a man attending his own funeral. "Smile, Gabriel," Elias hissed, leaning on his cane beside him. "The stock is up 12% since the wedding photos from Italy leaked. You look like you're mourning." "Maybe I am," Gabriel muttered, scanning the entrance for the 100th time. "She's not coming," Elias scoffed. "Arthur told me she came back alone. She knows her place now. She took the money, she got the gallery, and now she's hiding. Smart girl." "She's not hiding," Gabriel said, his grip on the glass tightening until his knuckles turned white. "She's hurt, because we betrayed her. We secured." "The asset," Elias corrected. "Stop being dramatic. Isabella is here. She's wearing a very fetching silver dress. Go say hello. If your wife is a no-show, we'll spin it. Flu, perhaps. Or exhaustion from the honeymoon." Gabriel looked at his grandfather. For 30 years he had seen Elias as a titan, a mentor. Now he just saw a sad, cruel old man who would trade his own soul for a percentage point. "I'm not speaking to Isabella," Gabriel said coldly. "And if Maya doesn't come, I'm going to tell the press exactly why." Elias's eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't dare. You breached that confidentiality clause, and I will invoke the morality clause in your CEO contract. I will strip you of everything." "You already did," Gabriel whispered, "when you made me lose her." Suddenly the hum of conversation in the room died down. A hush rippled from the entrance, spreading like a wave across the ballroom. Heads turned. Photographers scrambled, flashes popping like lightning. Gabriel turned, and his breath stopped. Maya was there. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't wearing a modest wife of the CEO gown. She was wearing war paint. Her dress was a deep, blood-red crimson silk that hugged every curve of her body and pooled on the floor behind her. It was strapless, daring, and absolutely stunning. Her hair was swept up, exposing the elegant line of her neck. She wore no jewelry, no necklace, no earrings, and notably, no wedding ring. She looked like a queen who had come to burn the castle down. She walked down the grand staircase alone. She didn't look nervous, she looked lethal. "My God," Elias muttered, "that dress is aggressive." Gabriel didn't hear him. He started walking. He ignored the board members trying to stop him. He ignored Isabella waving from the corner. He walked straight to the bottom of the stairs. Maya reached the floor. She stopped in front of him. Up close, he could see the fire in her hazel eyes. "Maya," he breathed, "you came." "I told you, Gabriel," she said, her voice cool and composed. "I honor my contracts. I'm here for the show." "It's not a show for me, not anymore." "Save it." She sidestepped him. "Where is your grandfather? I believe I owe him a conversation." She walked past him, the red silk brushing against his leg like a phantom touch. Gabriel watched her go, feeling a mix of terrifying pride and absolute panic. She was going to destroy Elias, and Elias would destroy her back. Maya approached Elias Thorne. The old man straightened up, leaning on his cane, putting on his benevolent patriarch mask. "Maya, my dear, you look striking. We were worried you wouldn't make it." "I bet you were," Maya smiled. It was a sharp, dangerous smile. "It would have been so much easier for you if I had just faded away, wouldn't it, Elias? Then you could have kept the building and the grandson." Elias's smile faltered. "Keep your voice down, child. There are reporters everywhere." "I know." Maya stepped closer. "That's why I'm here. To tell them how Thorne Holdings targets small family businesses, forces them into default, and then uses the debt to blackmail women into marriage. It's quite a story. The Seattle Times would love it." Elias's face turned purple. "You signed an NDA. You speak one word, and I will sue you for every penny you have. I will take that gallery and turn it into a public restroom." "Try it," Maya challenged. "I don't care about the money anymore. I care about the truth. Is there a problem here?" Isabella materialized, sensing the tension. She slid her arm through Elias's, looking at Maya with disdain. "Really, Maya? Making a scene at a gala? It's so retail." Maya looked at Isabella. She looked at the fake concern, the expensive jewelry, the shallowness of it all. "Go away, Isabella," Maya said tiredly. "The adults are talking." "How dare you? Ladies and gentlemen," a voice boomed over the speakers. "Please take your seats. The CEO address is about to begin." The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. "That's my cue." Gabriel appeared beside them. He looked at Maya. "Don't do it, Maya. Don't destroy yourself to hurt him." "Someone has to stop him," she whispered. "I know," Gabriel said. He reached out and squeezed her hand. His palm was warm. That's why I'm going up there. He walked to the stage. Maya watched him go. She saw the set of his shoulders, the determination. He looked like he was walking to the gallows. Gabriel stood behind the podium. He gripped the edges. He looked out at the sea of faces, investors, employees, media. He looked at Elias, who was glaring at him from the front row, daring him to step out of line. And then he looked at Maya, standing in the back in her red dress, looking like the only splash of color in a black and white world. He took a deep breath. He pulled his prepared speech, the one about quarterly earnings and synergy, from his pocket. He tore it in half. The sound was audible through the microphone. A gasp went through the room. I had a speech prepared, Gabriel said, his voice deep and steady, about profit margins, about our acquisition of Kincaid Industries, about the future of Thorn Holdings. He tossed the torn paper aside. But tonight, I don't want to talk about the future. I want to talk about the cost of the past. Elias stood up, banging his cane. Gabriel, stick to the script. Sit down, grandfather, Gabriel commanded. The authority in his voice was absolute. Elias, stunned, slowly sank back into his chair. This company, Gabriel continued, was built on aggression. We acquire, we merge, we conquer. We treat properties like numbers and people like leverage. I was raised to believe that was strength. I was raised to believe that emotion was a liability. He looked directly at Maya. 6 weeks ago I made a deal, a business transaction. I acquired a wife to secure my inheritance. I used a debt my family orchestrated, to force a woman into a contract. Murmurs erupted. Cameras flashed. Blindingly. I thought I was smart, Gabriel said, a sad smile touching his lips. I thought I could control it. Clause 99. No emotion, no attachment, just business. He stepped out from behind the podium, taking the mic with him. He walked to the edge of the stage, closer to her. But I was wrong, because you can't sign a contract against your own heart. I married Maya Lin to save a building, but somewhere between the arguments and the silence, she saved me. Maya felt tears pricking her eyes. She put a hand to her mouth. She taught me that a legacy isn't about what you own, Gabriel said, his voice cracking slightly. It's about what you protect. She fought for her father's memory with a ferocity I have never seen in any boardroom. She saw the broken parts of me, the parts I hid from all of you, and she didn't run away, she held me. He looked at Elias. My grandfather told me that passion makes you reckless, that it makes you crash. He's right. I am reckless right now. Because I'm about to burn this whole thing down. Gabriel reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a folded document. This is my resignation, he announced. Chaos. Absolute chaos. People were shouting. Elias was clutching his chest. I cannot lead a company that destroys lives for profit, Gabriel shouted over the noise. I am returning my shares to the board. I am liquidating my personal assets to pay off the predatory loans we issued to small businesses in this district, including the Lin Gallery. He looked back at Maya. The room fell silent again, waiting for the finale. Maya, he said softly, speaking only to her now. I know I broke your trust. I know I didn't stop the machine before it hurt you. I can't change that. But I can change who I am. I don't want the CEO chair. I don't want the legacy. I just want to be the man who is worthy of you. He dropped the microphone. It hit the floor with a thud that echoed like a heartbeat. Gabriel walked down the stairs of the stage. He walked through the stunned crowd, parting them like the Red Sea. He walked straight to Maya. She was crying now. The tears ruined her makeup, but she didn't care. You idiot, she whispered, her voice shaking. You just gave away $1 billion. I made a bad investment, Gabriel shrugged, wiping a tear from her cheek. I traded $1 billion for a second chance. Tell me, Mrs. Thorne, did I get a good deal? Maya looked at him. She saw the freedom in his eyes. The ice was gone. The fortress had crumbled. You overpaid. She laughed through her tears. I disagree. He didn't wait for the cameras. He didn't wait for Elias to scream. He grabbed her face and kissed her. It was a kiss of surrender. A kiss that said, I am yours. It was passionate, messy, and completely public. When they broke apart, Elias was standing in front of them, purple with rage. You fool, Elias spat. You threw it all away. You are nothing without the Thorne name. You are penniless. Gabriel looked at his grandfather. He put his arm around Maya's waist, pulling her flush against him. I have my wife, Gabriel said calmly, and I have my freedom. I've never been richer, Elias. He turned to Maya. Let's go home. Not the estate. Your place, the gallery. It's small, Maya warned him, and it smells like turpentine. Perfect, Gabriel smiled. I love turpentine. They walked out of the symphony hall hand in hand, leaving the flashing lights, the screaming board members, and the furious old man behind them. 3 months later, the Lynn Gallery was buzzing. It was opening night for the restoration exhibit. Maya stood in the center of the room, holding a glass of cheap wine, watching people admire her father's collection. The building was safe. The debt was gone, paid by Gabriel's liquidation of his sports car collection, a sacrifice he claimed was painful but necessary. Excuse me, Madam Director. Maya turned. Gabriel was standing there. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing jeans and a black sweater. He had paint under his fingernails. He had spent the last month helping her renovate the second floor. You look busy, he teased, handing her a fresh glass. I am, she smiled, leaning into him. We sold 3 paintings tonight. Good. Because we need to buy groceries. I'm tired of ramen. Hey, ramen is character building. It builds humility. Gabriel laughed. He looked happy, younger. The weight of the world was gone from his shoulders. He was consulting for ethical startups now, making a fraction of his old salary, but he smiled more in a day than he used to in a year. He pulled a small envelope from his pocket. What is this? Maya asked. A new contract, he said, serious. Maya raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? Clause 99 again. Read it. She opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper, handwritten in his elegant script. The undersigned Gabriel Thorne hereby promises to love, honor, and annoy Maya Lynn for the rest of his natural life. Clause 1. Excessive kissing is mandatory. Clause 2. No secrets. Clause 3. Passion is not reckless. It is required. Signed, the husband. Maya looked up, her eyes swimming with happy tears. I think I need to consult my lawyer before signing this. Too late, Gabriel whispered, pulling her close. You already said I do. I did, she agreed, and I'd do it again. He kissed her, right there in the middle of the gallery, surrounded by art and life and noise. And for the first time, Gabriel Thorne didn't care who was watching. He finally understood that the most valuable things in life couldn't be bought, sold, or contracted. They had to be felt. Wow. From a cold contract to a fiery romance, Gabriel really risked it all. I have to ask you, if you were Gabriel, would you have given up a billion-dollar company for love, or would you have tried to keep both? Be honest in the comments. And if you loved Maya's revenge dress moment, hit that like button until it turns blue. Don't forget to subscribe for more emotional rollercoaster stories. Next up, a wife who disappears on her anniversary, only to leave a trail of clues that leads to a shocking secret. See you in the next video.